Hey everyone, it's me, Desiree Marie. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you guys about the pros and cons of how you start your locks. Should you start your locks on long natural hair or should you do a big chop? I'm here to outweigh the good and the bad, pretty much bring you guys my experience with both sides and kind of count the cost with you, especially if you are thinking about getting locks and you're, trying to do some research here on YouTube, finding what way best suits you. Here's a video that I hope is very informational and helpful to you. So, if you're interested in hearing what I have to say about the pros and the cons, starting your lock journey with either loose, long, natural hair or with a big chop, stay tuned. Okay, so basically my backstory is I started my locks with long natural hair, or I guess you can say medium length natural hair. I started my locks on shoulder length loose natural hair. When I stretched out my hair, it went straight to my shoulders, and so I didn't have a super short fro that I started with. Some people do start their their lock journey with a short fro, but for me I started with my long natural hair, and so that came with its pros and its cons. So let's start by talking about starting your lock journey with long natural hair. What are the pros and the cons for that? If you're watching this video right now and you have long, loose natural hair and you want to start your lock journey, let me just start off by saying you can start your lock journey on long natural hair. You don't necessarily have to do a big chop. So basically, here are the reasons why. Okay, so when you start your lock journey off on long, loose natural hair, the first thing to know is that it is an easy transition. It is so easy to start your lock journey on long hair because of the fact that however you start your locks, whether it be 2-strand twists, braids, comb coils, you still have a lot of versatility with hairstyling. You're not subject to just leaving your hair one way. You can kind of play around with your hair and conceal your newly locked journey, I guess you can say, and play up the styles a little bit. So if you're not very comfortable leaving your hair long, leaving your hair straight and flat, you can kind of change it up a little bit. You can put your hair up on one side and pin it, or you can put your hair back or do different styles, do updos. There's so much versatility with long, loose natural hair in whatever way you start. Like I said, if you start with 2-strand twists, braids, comb coils, what have you. For me, I started with 2-strand twists, the 2-strand twist method. But before then, I did start my first set of locks with braid locks. If you did not hear about my story concerning braid locks and kind of giving you guys the pros and the cons to starting your locks with braids, definitely do click on the link up above, and also I will add that link in the description box if you're interested in seeing more later. There I talk mostly about the pros and the cons starting your locks off with braids, because there are so many ways that you can start your locks off. But my thing is, I started with the braids and then I switched over to 2-strand twists. However, I found that the 2-strand twists were very versatile. I mean, for me, when I was loose natural, I used to always twist my hair up and leave my hair like that for a week or two. And so it was very familiar to me, and so I was more comfortable. I was comfortable, doing different styles and still maintaining a certain look without looking like I'm transitioning to something completely different, without looking like I am in the middle of like a dramatic hair change. I know that may not be everyone's struggle, but for me personally, that was. I wanted to make sure that I still looked a certain way, especially for the fact that I was working outside of the home and where my image was very much important. So I wanted a starting style that would help me to still be able to do the things that I'm used to and still look a certain type of way. However, if you are starting with a big chop, this is where the con may come in. So if you're starting with a big chop with short natural hair, the thing about that is you won't have so much versatility when it comes to hairstyling, because obviously your hair is short, so you're not able to do a lot of the different things that you would have done had you have started with long loose natural hair. And this is not to say that it's impossible to look great with short loose natural hair that is actually transitioning into a lock journey. You can do so much. There's so many different options, but the thing I'm talking about is the hairstyling part. You know, it's not very versatile to put your hair up in a ponytail or do different updos and so forth. For me, I was used to having long hair, full hair, big hair. I was used to wearing wigs and weaves. You guys have heard me talk about that so much. And when I had loose natural hair, I would make sure that it was big. And so when I wanted to start my locks off, I sure didn't want to do another big chop, because I, first of all, was not comfortable when I did do the big chop when I went natural. But it really was important to me to have versatility. When you do a big chop, you may not have so much versatility. Depending on how much you chop off your hair, you won't have as much versatility as you would have with long loose natural hair. So that is one reason why you probably want to rethink cutting your hair when you start your lock journey. The second thing to know if you are starting on long hair is that you will deal with frizz. You will deal with frizz and you will deal with budding. If you don't know what budding is pretty much your hair's way of maturing. So as it is in its either 2-strand twist, braid, comb coil, whatever way you start your hair, as you wash your hair and introduce moisture into your routine and it becomes slowly metamorphoses from whatever starting method into a lock, what you're going to realize is that either your braid, 2-strand twist, or comb coil is going to actually it's going to look a little bit more bumpy along the length of the lock. It's going to look a little, I guess people would call this awkward. And to me, it's not awkward, it's just your hair's way of developing. So you will start to see bumps and lumps in your hair, and that's its way of actually filling out altogether. So when you start your hair, your lock journey on long hair, what's going to happen is, on long hair, it's so noticeable to see every single change that is happening in your hair. When you start off with the 2-strand twist, the braids, or the comb coil, you are going to see more on the length of your lock. You're going to see more along the length of your long natural hair, because your natural hair is very long and noticeable. So you're going to see the lumps, you're going to see the bumps, you're going to see lots of frizz, because your hair is at a length where it is more noticeable. However, if you start your locks with a big chop, what you realize is you do still deal with frizz, and you do still, you know, have a time where your hair is budding. However, in my opinion, I believe that with short TWA, a teeny weeny afro, when you either braid it, twist it, or whatever, it's such a small amount of hair that it doesn't take much for it to actually fill out completely and totally. And so the budding won't be so awkward, because you know, you have a teeny weeny fro and it's not very noticeable what's going on down there with you know, your short hair. But with long hair, you have length, and so it's more noticeable, it's more public, and it's just something that you have to deal with when you start with long loose natural hair. For me, I didn't mind it because of the fact that I knew that these times would come. So many people talked about how you would go through the ugly phase. It is not ugly to me, but to some people they call that the ugly phase, when your hair goes through different metamorphoses. So if you consider that the ugly phase, then you would deal with that with long loose natural hair rather than short teeny weeny afro hair. I know the first year that I started my locks, my 2-strand twist locks, every month my hair did something different. It was so amazing, so fascinating. Every single month my hair was transforming, and you guys saw it because I recorded it here on YouTube. So just be excited and, you know, happy for the fact that your hair is changing and it's going through its different, you know, metamorphosis in order to become the full and the mature lock that you want it to be. However, you don't have to start with long hair. You can start with the short hair, and this will kind of minimize the issues like the frizzing and the budding that you would have had with long loose natural hair. With short hair, it's very less noticeable. It's not so noticeable with short hair, and in my opinion, short hair fills out and becomes more mature faster just because there is not much length to actually do the transformation and kind of fill out the lock. So if you are starting with long loose natural hair, you have to brace yourself for this, okay? Everybody has to deal with this. Everyone. I dealt with it. Someone you know with locks has dealt with it. Everybody has dealt with it, and this is shrinkage. Yes, so me personally, when I started my locks on 2-strand twists, I thought, okay, yay! You know, I'm starting with long hair, so I don't have to deal with all the stress of the short locks and the weird stuff. I can have, like, you know, a head start in the game. I can have my hair long and it'll just lock up and still continue to grow. It'll still be long. I'll have long locks because I started with long hair. Isn't that the way that things go? Like, I thought that made so much sense. However, our hair, especially if you have natural 4C hair, our hair doesn't always make the most sense. So you will realize that shortly after you wash your hair, so your first wash day or your second wash day, you will start to see that your hair shrinks. It's not going to maintain that long, you know, 2-strand twist rope length that you had. You're going to see that your locks actually start to get a little bit shorter, and it starts to look a little bit more awkward, and it will start to do different things. So you won't always have that full, juicy, nice 2-strand twist. You will start to see that your locks shrink up a little bit. And if you are experiencing this right now, do not panic because your hair is still growing. However, it needs to shrink. Every time you introduce water, you wash your hair, you moisturize your hair, it's going to shrink. And this is very helpful. Don't turn away from this because your hair needs to shrink in order to mature. It needs to shrink in order to grow from the inside, mature on the inside, allow all the shed hairs that your hair naturally sheds every day to actually shed on the inside of your starter lock, fill out, and then expand and become the full lock it is supposed to. So shrinkage is very normal. It's one of the first things you're gonna notice anyway, and it's just how you weather this part of your journey that really matters the most. And to me, I feel like having locks is more than just an aesthetic. It's mostly about loving and accepting yourself in your most natural state. So that can be when you feel your most beautiful and when you don't feel your most beautiful, when your hair does the best and you have a great hair day, and when you don't feel like you have a great hair day and your hair is, you know, frizzing out and it does all these different things you're not used to. Having locks it will really teach you how to completely accept yourself and love yourself in every stage that your hair will present itself. And your hair is going to do a lot, and it's going to really challenge your thoughts about your personal beauty and, you know, the things that you thought were beautiful, or challenge your perception of beauty as a whole. So this is really exciting. I would really get excited if I were you, because it's all exciting. Like, your hair is doing so much. It's going to show you so much in the first year. I actually have a video coming up where I will show you my first year being locked, so stay tuned for that. However, if you big chop your natural hair and you are starting with short, loose natural hair, you will realize that the shrinkage is not so noticeable. Actually, your hair does minimal shrinkage because it's already short. So if you start your hair with a comb coil and your hair is very, very short, you're gonna realize that the comb coil, yeah, it will shrink, but like I said, it does not have so much length where it takes a long time just to fill out and, you know, to actually become the lock it's supposed to. Because it's such a short amount of hair, that amount of hair will actually mature a lot faster and then become the lock it's going to be, and your hair actually looks locked a lot quicker than if you start with long loose natural hair. Because with long loose natural hair, the longer you have your hair, sometimes you will deal with different issues, like your hair being a little bit on the limp side, a little bit stringy. It may not completely develop all together. You will realize that your hair grows in stages and that maybe one lock looks more mature than the other. You will see that your hair doesn't completely grow at the same rate. So one lock will mature faster than the other. You got so much going on. But with a TWA, with your short, loose natural hair, everything seems to grow at the same rate, and so you won't deal with so much of the dramatic metamorphosis that you would with long, loose natural hair. And so that brings me to my next point. When you start your lock journey with long, loose natural hair, you will realize that your hair takes a little bit longer to actually look like a lock. For me, it took me about 4 months for my hair to actually look locked to me. But people were still asking me, hey, like no one knew that I had locks. Like even I think a year later, somebody said, oh my gosh, wow, are you growing locks? Like this whole time I had my 2-strand twist and like I thought I was popping, but and I still think I was, by the way. Anyway, so with your long, loose natural hair, it takes longer for it to actually develop. And so that's very normal. And so my last point, the last thing that I realized when I was growing my 2-strand twist starter locks and they were at a long length, the thing I realized is that it took me longer for my hair, it took my hair longer for it to actually become its thickest potential. Because like I mentioned, my hair was going through a lot of metamorphosis on the inside. You know, the shed hairs causing the lock to actually bump out, you know, do the awkward things and bud and bump along the lock until it actually became a full lock. So all of those there's so much that goes into the lock process that because I had long hair, it took a little bit longer than if someone who started with short hair, who, like I said, does not have such length that it takes a long time. People with short hair have a step ahead, and plus their hair expands and actually becomes a full thick lock quicker than those with long loose natural hair. So those are just the things that I've observed when I started my locks with long, loose natural hair. These are just some things to kind of consider if you also have long, loose natural hair, or if you have a short, teeny weeny fro, or if you're thinking about cutting your hair before you actually get locks. Like I mentioned, it's not 100% necessary for you to cut your hair in order to lock your hair. Only if you have like kind of traces of like relaxed hair and processed hair, I would recommend cutting that hair off. But you don't have to do a big chop just to grow locks and start your lock journey. You can start right where you are and grow from there. But these are just some points to just give you you know, just so that you can give thought to these things if you have long, loose, natural hair, or if you have short hair. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know down below if you have locks and you started your locks on long, loose, natural hair, or if you started with short, loose, natural hair. Let us know down below. What were some of your struggles? What were the things that you dealt with? What was your experience? I would love to know, so let us know down below. But thank you guys for watching. I hope that you enjoyed and that this video really helped to inspire and motivate you on your journey. I want to also remind you that I am also on Instagram. My Instagram handle is itsDesireeMarie_. You can find me on there when I'm not on here. And also, I want to remind you that the Naughty Curl Club, which is a subscription box business just for people with locks, that will be launching very, very soon, actually on Black Friday. So you want to keep your eyes peeled. If you have not become a part of the email list, I do recommend that you become a part of it so that you can see some of the sneak peeks and the special VIP perks that only the email listers have. The website will be live on Black Friday, so just make sure that your eyes are peeled, because it is a limited amount that we will have and start off with. So you want to keep your eyes peeled so that you get your box first, you lock it down, and I'm just really excited to show you guys everything that is concerning this box. So stay tuned. But anyway, thank you for watching. I love you guys so, so much. Don't forget to comment down below and subscribe if you are not. And I will see you in the next video, guys. Later. Bye.